Have I ever told you about removing like a skin tag once?
I'm not sure.
Go for it.
So like, look, I'm vain, and if I see something like a skin tag or like a mole or something, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. And like, I was in New York doing a business thing, and I was in my hotel room. I was walking around shirtless, and I kind of reached back to like scratch my side, and like somewhere like on my ribs on my right side, I felt something. And it was like a skin tag. It was like this. It was like a flat mole that was like flop like this. It would like flop.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Ooh, this is so unsightly. Oh, I can't stand." It was like I felt like I had a parasite.
Like, I was going to say leech, right? Like
It was like I had a parasite. Something was on/in my body that I was just disgusted by. I was like, this has to go. Like, I'm going to be, if I go out tonight, all I'm going to be thinking about is this thing is on me. It'd be like having a splinter in your eyeball or like, I don't know.
Dr. Colin wouldn't stand for that. He'd grab an X-Acto if that's what it took.
Dr. Kyle won't stand for it either.
Okay.
Of course, he's in a hotel room in New York City. So all he had at his disposal was a pair of nail clippers.
Oh, no. No, why would you do this?
So I got my nail clippers and kind of stretched the skin, got in the mirror, and I got all the way down to the base.
Sure.
And I start squeezing. And in my head, I thought it's just going to go snip and like snip right off, like you're like snipping a rosebud off, like you're pruning.
Yeah. I've never had an earring, but it's like it hurts and then it's over, right?
This is kind of hard for me to tell the story. I get a little squirmy in my chair just remembering back to how awful this was. So I squeeze and it's hurting, and I squeeze more and I'm hurting, and I'm like, we're doing this, and I squeeze and I hear a crunch noise. And I'm like, well, that had to be it. And I pull a little bit. No, it's still attached. So I make a decision. It's coming off. So I just go, and just tear it off.
Oh, so you didn't sever it. You ripped it
off.
And it hurt. I have a high pain tolerance. I truly believe this. I've never felt a 10 out of 10 pain because I've never gone unconscious, and I think that's what a 10 is. This was a 7.
you're getting those fuzzies in your eyes.
I literally getting dizzy and nauseous at the same time, and like having to sit down, and I'm just like making a fist, kind of hitting my thigh, going. And I look, and the blood is already down to my hip. It's already down to my hip. I'm like, I'm gonna stain my underwear if I don't like. So I'm like getting a towel to staunch the bleeding now. And I ended up having to like go downstairs to the lobby and get like Band-Aids and like Neosporin and stuff, but no scar or anything. And I got it clean. Like if there'd been a little nub left, I'd have had to do something about that too.
Did you look at it afterward to see the culprit?
Oh yeah, it was gross. It was gross. Yeah.
Little nub.
Little chunk of flesh. But since then, I've always involved the doctor for such things. I had a mole, like, I don't know, below my chest, but above my ribs, like that kind of area a while back. And I got that removed at the doctor, and, no big deal.
I got one of those bumps once too, like on the back of my like neck area. Many years ago at this point, but I remembered the same thing of just one day being like, what? When did this happen? When did this pop up? And I remember like in my head picturing a diagram of it where it's like, oh, it's the skin, and then there's a thing on here I don't want. Well, what do I have to get rid of it? Only an idiot would use nail clippers.
A shaving razor. I'll take a layer at a time.
Literally, I was picturing, I had like a little razor, and I was picturing like what I should be able to do is if I just push really hard down instead of doing a light thing, it'll pick it up and scoop it with it. And what it actually did is I remember I was like standing, I couldn't quite see it, and I was like pushing the razor in tighter, and I pulled down really hard trying to get it, and I was like, oh, that stung, but not as bad as I thought. And I look, and I'm like trying to see it, and it's like immediately pouring so much blood, and like I reach back to feel it, and now it's like I can pick up like the top portion of it, except it didn't get low enough to get the bottom part. And so I had to go back and like, I swear, at one point I was so irate. I was just like, and eventually it shaved it all off, but there was so much blood.
I can't do this anymore. This is making me feel so uncomfortable.
I was having to push the razor down so much that all the surrounding skin was so irritated because so I just had a huge red patch with like what's probably now a scar. I can't really see that. Oh, that was dumb.
Yeah.
I stabbed myself very badly about 2 years ago now. On a piece of metal on my leg press hack squat 2-in-1 machine was being delivered in a giant wooden crate, and there were these metal crimps that were holding the boards together to the package, and one of those had come unscrewed, and there's like a razor sharp blade sticking out, and I was pulling on the box to try and get it off of the pallet jack. UPS guy hadn't put on there right. You shouldn't have to yank things off the pallet jack, and I pulled really hard and it stabbed into my right forearm. Like it's man, it was that was a scary moment.
L-shaped, isn't it?
It was L-shaped, but it stood out. And so like, it was mostly a straight line, but it was kind of jagged. It wasn't sharp enough to be a nice clean puncture, but I thought it was like a bee sting level of hurt as I was pulling it. And then I took my arm off and I like looked down thinking to be like, that smarts. And like, there was a hole in my arm. Like it stabbed so deep that I could see the muscle and fat tissue in my arm. Like I could see all the meat in there.
Yeah.
Like I remember like driving myself to actually it was funny because the guy who was helping me deliver or who was delivering it to me, I was like, don't leave, because I stabbed myself so bad. Blood was going everywhere. And so I pinched it closed. I kind of failed to pinch it closed. It was surreal to like have a wound that I was like using another hand to try and like hold closed, but there was so much blood. My hand was slippery. And so I just told the guy, I'm like, don't leave. He's in my garage dropping this off. And I run inside, I'm bleeding everywhere. Nice. I get a dish towel to tie around my arm. And then I come back out there and I'm like, all right, I need to go to the hospital. And the UPS guy was like, I mean, I can't take you to the hospital. And I'm like, no, like that's not what's being asked here.
I deliver packages, not people.
I deliver packages, not people.
It's the parcel service.
And so he like helped me because I was looking for a way to attach this towel to my arm to drive myself to the ER. And I found duct tape. I was looking for tape. And then I heard like in my house and I heard him scream from the garage. He's like, I got tape. And so I ran back out there. I slapped the thing on. He starts taping me up with an absurd amount of tape, of duct tape to keep this on there. It's bleeding so much, running down my arm. And the guy's like, with no hint of irony, he goes like, I'm about to like trying to pull away because there's plenty of tape on there. And he's like, hold on, I can do. My wife's a nurse. And then he like continued to tape me up, like said, my wife's a nurse authoritatively. And it was like, okay. And then I drove to the hospital and they, it scarred and healed so badly because I didn't ask for plastics because it was a forearm thing. And they just let a resident practice on me.
Yep.
Like,
that's what they do.
That's awesome.
And so it looks
I've got
really
one,
just gnarly still.
I don't know if you can see like the back of my.
Yeah, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
See if I do a thing like.
And now
have you ever gotten like, I guess it's acne, but it's really like an abscess in like your ear area, like the bottom of your. I'm trying to show my ear, but they're so.
When I was
like the bottom of your ear or like right behind it.
Yeah,
I got one on
a
the
pimple
inside
there.
of my ear once. On the inside of this like cartilage area, and it wouldn't go away, and it was so unsightly and gross. And I was only like, I was probably like 13 or something, and so like it wasn't that I cared that much about the unsightly, but I was always trying to like pop it because it was so intrusive that like it was like a pressure in my ear. And we went to the doctor, and like he like lanced it, and then like did like and it was like someone like just right open. Like it was the best. I still remember how good it felt for that to pop and the pressure to be relieved as that like goo dripped out of my ear. Oh, disgusting.
When I was about 13, so I guess as a kid, I just didn't wash. I didn't wash my ears very well when I would like shower and stuff, and I got blackheads in my ears, like not down my ear canal, but like in the like flat, smooth area of like the inside of your ear. And so we go to the dermatologist, and this lady has me lie on my side with my head against like the bed, and she has this tool, and she is pressing on these blackheads, popping them so hard it feels like she's about to penetrate through my skull and go into my brain. And every one of them is just like pow, pow, pow. She like pops them all. It's like they're huge. She's like collecting them on like a petri dish over there. Like, look at all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, how many were there? Like, well, there's like 8 in this ear and like 4 in the other. Better clean your ears in the future unless you want this again. And there's like tears in my eyes. And ever since then, every shower, I'm just like cleaning. I've got like a cloth, like soaping it up, like really getting in there good with like acne wash. So like, I never want to have to go back to that woman in Athens, Georgia, and have her stab my ears again.
Was it like that hard pus from being trapped in there so long? It's like a stick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. I remember this. I was at my grandparents' house. I was pretty young, but I think my mom was in the other room, like complaining about acne or something. And my grandpa was sitting there on his couch, like, having a coffee or something, watching bull riding probably. And he was like, Taylor, come over here. Look at this. Because I was like, hearing my grandma and my mom talking about acne, and he comes over there and he goes, watch this, and he goes,
oh no,
nose, and goes, it squeezes it, and it was like a fast forwarding, like those mushroom head growth, that just the amount of pus that came out of his nose, it was one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my life. And he thought it was hilarious, obviously, because he just wanted to
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh Christ, that's so gross.
Yeah.
Woody, have you ever self-removed a mole or skin tag with a razor?
No, wart.
Or nail clippers.
I have a wart on my finger right here, and if I didn't like maintain it, it would grow, and you could see it. But if you hit it with a razor blade, I could make it almost gone. So used to in the shower every so often just shave down the top of the wart.
What did you do eventually to?
Eventually, a doctor put something very cold on it, and it like froze it, and it fell out or something.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, use the liquid nitrogen. Froze that bitch off. That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember getting dragged along to doctor's appointments when I was little because my younger brother, like, he went through a phase when he was young where he would just like get a wart on his thumb, like a big gross wart, or a wart on his toe or something. And like, you know how it is. Like, I'm 6, he's younger, and I would get dragged along to the doctor's office, and I remember like getting like there's just such a weird like clash of emotions because he would be like openly crying and scared, and the doctor would be explaining like, we're gonna freeze it off. And then that part I was like, freeze it off like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like Mr. Freeze, we're gonna like that. Whoa. And I remember watching them freeze the wart off with that really cold stick, and it was really cool. My brother hated it. He was crying the whole time, but I was fascinated. I've never had a wart, so I've never had to deal with that. I was told it didn't hurt much getting that cold stuff.
Yeah, it didn't hurt at all. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you get a needle in that area first.
He was young enough that it could have just been being at the doctor's, being spooky,
Yeah, I think it was literally painless.
That's good. Well, I don't think I'm going to try any more self-dermatology in the future. Although it did get rid of it with just a lot of blood and a few tears.
Oh, it sounds awful.
I don't have an opportunity for self-dermatology because involuntary dermatology will find it first. Sneak up on me with tweezers.
Forced dermatology will get you, and forced cosmetology for your house. Does he ever try and sneak a brush in? Feel like breath stinking? Like,
why are you pouring mouthwash on me?
Like, you can just tell me. I'll go brush. Jesus. Like, I know we had onion soup with, cabbage slaw for dinner.
How much brushing is too much? Like, it is possible to brush your teeth too much and damage your gums and such. Is 3 times a day too much?
It depends how hard you're brushing. Like, if you're brushing so hard that your gums are bleeding, that's too much. You got to settle that. Or if your gums are bleeding, it could be because you don't brush enough.
Well, that's bullshit. That shouldn't be the way that it works. That's like watering plants. Too much water, they turn brown. Not enough water, they turn brown. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do for you, quite frankly. But
an embarrassing way for a plant to die. Too much water. Like, yeah, that's the hurdle you couldn't get. Too much food. I just had so many potatoes, I starved to death. Idiots.
Yeah, I got those braces, and I'm down 10 pounds, by the way, so that the pain in the ass eating is working. But yeah, every time you put them back in, you have to brush your teeth, so it can be like 3 times a day.
Yeah, I'm going on a little trip, so I've been good with my diet recently. So
I
can. Well, good other than just those few days of absolute mayhem around Thanksgiving.
Oh,
sure. It was like just. And every time, because of the amount of leftovers I bring home, it always turns into like a 4-day thing where it's like, well, I'm not going to not eat this. That's wasteful.
Plus,
I look sexy.
Off? Like the what's that tick spray? The off stuff? Like what's in there?
DEET. Yeah.
Is that bad? Yeah.
DEET. Yeah, it's got to be.
Drink it.
I just remember every time we'd go hunting, especially like bow hunting, so it's earlier in the year in October, even, there'd be mosquitoes. So we would bathe in that shit. Like we'd spray each other. Like, all right, now get me. And you'd like
my mouth.
Every inch you wanted covered because they'd eat your ass alive in the tree stand.
Yeah. Growing up, I only put it on my skin, right? Because that's where bugs bite you. And then my wife would put it on like her pants and her shoes and stuff. I was like, that's fucking genius. Like, why have I never considered that? It's like, I don't know, less exposure, yet still a little fog around you.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'll spray my shoes, whatever.
Man, bugs
I wore a face net that, that would
while hunting.
Yeah, not only was it camouflage, but I could douse that thing and not have to put that shit in my face, the off stuff. Yeah, I hated that. That was the worst part, was ticks. I would always have ticks. Like, not always, but like every year I would get a few ticks.
Yeah, that's just part of being a kid running around the woods.
Yes.
Nymphs. You ever get into a nymph nest? Tick nymphs?
Chiggers. I've had chiggers.
I did.
Nymphs? Are they like fairy tale creatures?
Oh.
Yeah, and a snark. You ever get in a snark nest? Fucking nymphs, like a baby tick. There's millions of them. You step into a tick den or whatever the fuck they're called, and you'll just have like a million of these tiny little ticks on you. Literally a million. Not actually, but seems like it.
I don't think I've ever had those, but like we used to, on my grandparents' farm when we were kids, we'd go out and play in the woods, obviously, because that's what you do. And you'd come back with like dozens of chiggers all over your lower legs. And then my grandma would have to get the clear nail
Lucky
polish,
you, Mr. Clear.
and then paint it all over your leg, because apparently that suffocates the chigger that's living burrowed in your skin. And
first time I learned about chiggers, like I used to go mountain biking, and they were explaining what chiggers do and why you can't go in New Jersey in certain times of year. And it was like, can you just say that word? Like, I'm uncomfortable with this conversation.
No, chiggers are the worst. They're like they're even worse than
man, I've been over here in this
Taylor, don't
conversation.
badmouth chiggers. Gonna get demonetized.
I don't like them. They itch even worse than mosquito bites, and there's sometimes not even like a big mark of where it is, so you just have like a feeling of itching in that whole region of your leg, and there's no satiety.
Dude, I got since the last time I was on the pod, I got bit by a fucking brown recluse on my chin.
Ooh, on your
Still
chin?
got a little my shin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my huge chin. It's fine now. It's still like a red circle, but I thought it was a normal bug bite, and it got bigger. And I was like, all right, I'm going to draw that little circle around it. It didn't hurt or anything. So I was like, there's no way this is bad. And then it went past circle. I was like, I'll draw another circle.
That'll fix it.
And then it's just like, it kind of stopped and then got really like ugly looking. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's probably a brown recluse bite. I should probably go to the hospital. Didn't. And then it didn't itch, or it just didn't really give me the vibe that I should go to the hospital. So I didn't. And
in fact, I had no pain from the knee down.
Yeah,
it was almost numb. It was almost like there was no feeling at all. But yeah, it's still like a little red dot, but I seem to have healed. So
that's good. Yeah,
you didn't have like a necrosis. Maybe I'm pronouncing it right. Like a hole.
There's like a little hole there, a little necrosis hole, necrotic hole. Yeah. Little hole there.
That'll
But it
fill
doesn't
it
Okay, I got my finger in it right now. I got my finger in it right now. Just kidding, it's not that big. It's not that big.
I still
I feel
marbles
like,
in it.
We
Yeah.
have so many brown recluse in Missouri.
Yeah.
That, like it was always a thing where it's like, be careful, like if they could bite and kill you. And it wasn't until I was like a legit adult in my like late 20s that I actually looked it up because I got a bug bite and I didn't actually, it wasn't a brown recluse, but it's like, oh yeah, in like 1% of cases, it can be so bad that it requires hospitalization. Usually it'll go away on its own, like another bug bite. And I'm like, oh, this is, I always saw the brown recluse and the black widow as more like peers in the spider venom world.
Mhm.
No, brown recluse is so much less scary than a black widow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's usually
have you looked
the
into black
scratching and
widows?
gets infected. Sorry.
If you
sorry,
scratch
too.
what, it gets infected?
If you scratch the wound, that's usually what happens is scratching it and it gets super infected. That's why you have to go to the hospital. Sorry to interrupt you, Woody.
Better than just draw a circle. No, it's
You're
probably my
good.
fault.
We interrupted.
Have you looked into black widows? Is there a chance that they are 1 in 100? That there's
They're
one?
also like they're not going to kill you unless you're like already on death's door and it's a
or baby.
big fucking
Yep.
black widow. It's not going to do much, but like it can give you nausea and like you can throw up, stuff like that.
I just want to correct one thing. Taylor's talking about adults. For kids, if you're like 3 and under,
Oh yeah,
that spider bite can be a really big deal. Get looked at.
True. Yeah.
for sure.
So for all the parents out there who are putting off going to the hospital for their child, their 3-year-olds,
Listen to me. All right.
Dude, you guys laugh. I guess when I was a new parent, thank goodness Jackie was better at it. I really didn't have a good vibe for like what were doctor issues and what were they'll tough it out type thing. You know, like, oh, this baby's not hungry right now. Is that a doctor thing or nothing? You know, this baby's crying a lot. Babies do that. When does the cry mean doctor and when does the cry mean bottle? I don't fucking know. I'm a new parent. And yeah, I used to, if my wife wasn't there to be smarter than me, my insurance company had a nurse hotline that I could call and get advice from. And most of the time they're like, yeah, your kid's sleepy, dumbass. But every once in a while they're like, yeah, urgent care, go.
Yeah. My
Just
friend,
ask ChatGPT. That's the official.
oh, yeah.
Official advice.
Some nonsense answer, it kills you.
Yeah, exactly. Put your finger in it.
My friend has 3 kids and they're all very young. And he was, telling one of those parent stories. He was like, yeah, we were at a playground and we're all just having a fun time. The kids are running around and my son, he's 4 or whatever, 5 now. And it went from hunky-dory, having a great time to he tripped and like slammed his head on like a wooden stair that you had to go up to get to not like a bullshit little jungle gym, like a big wooden older style one. So hefty. And then, it was just blood everywhere and he's screaming and my daughters see it and now they're screaming and freaking out. And I'm like, oh man, like how do you even calm down like a kid in that situation, like before you can get to the doctor? And he was like, well, I got him and we got in the car and I was just talking to him, trying to calm him down and everything. And what ended up working was telling him how much worse the stair had it from the fall than his head had. And
Really?
and that like pivoted his son's thinking where he's like, really? So the stair was broken. He's like, oh, champ, the stair was so much worse off than you. Like you look like $1 million compared to the stair. And so he's like, and so I took him to the hospital. We got him sewn up by a plastic surgeon. There was like a forehead thing, very smart. And he's like, afterward, we were going to meet back up with the rest of the family. But first we had to go back to the playground so he could check on the stair and make sure that the stair was all right, because the stair didn't mean to hurt him. It was, and so he had to ensure the stair itself was okay after he.
That's adorable.
Very cute. It's like
How old was the kid?
Just turned 5.
Okay.
You should tell him that you should go visit that friend and tell him that his mom, dad, grandparents will all die and burn in hell for an indefinite amount of time. See what he says.
And then we'll put him on SSRIs so he has no memory of certain those
Exactly,
childhood.
dude.
Yeah, that would be beneficial.
My daughter
will all
did her
burn.
hair. She was probably 3. So I'm playing ice hockey and the benches at the park, the hand holds, they were cement, right? So it was regular wooden bench, but they were like in these cement arm rests that perform the structure. Anyway, she's misbehaving, walking on the bench and stuff. And my wife is just being casual. It's a hockey rink. You can't break anything except apparently your own head, because she got a cut here in the center and you could see the skull. Like sometimes you're like, oh, is that thing the bone? There were no questions. Everyone could obviously see my daughter's skull. It was an issue. It wasn't that bloody. My wife's freaking out. They get me off the ice, and we go to Duke, which is the best hospital in the area. And one of the good moves we made was have plastics sew her up. I've told the story before. The nurse couldn't find her vein for the IV, and she tried like 3 times. Hope's crying. She's suffering. She's 3 years old. And that's when I fired the nurse. I was like, you're done. No more. And they're like, no, this is what she does. I'm like, no. You guys know. You know who the IV person is. When you can't find the vein, when it's extra hard, there's someone here that all of you know is the ace.
The phlebotomist.
Bring the ace in. Yeah. And that's what they're like, all right. They brought the ace in and she got it first try. And the plastic surgeon sewed her up. And all of her pictures from like 3 to 5, she's wearing a hat because of that we wanted this scar to heal as best it could. And you had to keep the sun off of it. So it's pretty adorable. Every picture of her like young childhood she's had it.
Oh, I didn't know that the sun was bad for scars.
Oh yeah.
Tattoos.
That's a big deal.
Really?
Yeah.
It's probably the number one thing to make a scar heal best.
Is no sunlight.
To keep the sun off it, yeah. And tattoos too, if you ever go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you guys ever impaled yourself with anything?
Yes.
Oh,
badly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you mean all the way through?
No.
Yeah, just like somewhere, something that just went in you, maybe, and you pulled away and it's still in you.
Oh, pegging. Yes.
So on the poultry farm, we have these sort of a tool. Basically, it's you got a handle and then a round metal rod that comes out that's like 1/8 of an inch of spring steel, and on the end it turns into first a neck that kind of goes back and then a point that goes forward. And when you've got dead chickens, you can just walk by and sort of stick it into them and sort of twist it and throw them into a bucket that you're carrying in your other hand. You can do this really quick and you get really good with it. Well, my cousin and I had a sword fight with those. And he stabbed me in the forearm deep enough that like the bone did this vibratory thing that I could feel. And I had to reach, and it didn't just like go in and pop out. It was in, and I had to pull it out. And when I pulled it out, it made this little sort of noise, and I could feel the panic attack coming. And I got to water fast enough to throw it in my face, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna pass out now, but I definitely need some antibiotics. Like, still got a tiny little scar. If you like shave my arm down, you can see.
I did so I had this big ass couch. You know those cuticle cutters, the little scissors, but they're like they had a little thing on the end. They were in the couch between 2 cushions, sitting upright and open. And I jumped on the couch, like ass first, obviously, as one does, just fucking like that. And it went in my ass cheek, my left ass cheek.
Thank God it
was like, oh! I was like, what is that? Fuck! Something's stabbing me. And I thought it was a grasper or like some kind of something small, like because it didn't hurt that bad. It was like, oh God, that feels weird. I stood up and it was sticking. I could feel it gyrating in my ass, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I felt exactly what you were talking about, like about to pass out, because I was like, I grabbed it and I could feel it, and I just yanked it out of my ass, and it did the same thing you're talking about, where it was like it made like a sound of it just like coming out, and it went in my ass and closed. So there was like a wound channel inside of my ass and 2 entry holes. So 2 entry holes with a wound channel closing it. I pulled it out of my ass. It went through my shorts, my underwear, and it didn't bleed really. It like had a little squirt at first, but I took a shower. I was very worried that it was going to get infected because they're fucking nasty ass cuticle cutters. But just got these little funny 2 little
knives.
Exactly. And that's what I used it for. That's why it was on the couch.
Oh, you tried it yourself.
Yeah.
Did you have to go to Did you have to get a stitch or anything, or you just throw a little Neosporin and your ass was fine?
I should have definitely, because it was large, but I took a picture, sent it to everybody I knew, and then that was
What
that.
happened?
Like that.
My daughter cut her head open like Kyle did. So I pulled up a picture.
Of her head?
Nope.
Oh.
This is a park bench, and so I was playing ice hockey. This is, she was like 3, I think, and there were a bunch of these benches kind of in like a waiting area not far from the rink, and I guess my wife was letting her climb on the benches. It's not like there's anyone else on them, and she fell over and she hit her head on the edge of the like concrete arm. For people watching or maybe just listening to the audio, it's a regular park bench, but the ends of it are concrete. Anyway, it split her skull open. No, her skin open on her forehead, like to the skull, and you could clearly see the skull. Like, people are like, "Oh, you see bone and you see something white, and it's probably no, dude. You're like, oh, so I guess that's a human skull right there." Like it was just, and she's a little 3-year-old, cutest thing with all this red flowy hair, and like we were really concerned about the scar across her head. They had a pool at this hockey rink too, so the lifeguards came over and gave her some pressure, and the ambulance came. And when we got to the hospital, we waited for a plastic surgeon rather than just having her like stitched back up. There was a lot of attention given to whether or not we beat the kid. Like they had I don't know if they had special services come over, but we were definitely interviewed like separately almost, like to see if the stories matched and what the scoop was with that. And they stitched her forehead up real tight, and for like a year and a half, they didn't want any sun on it, and we had to like put vitamin E or whatever, like to make sure it healed as good as it could. So like there's a section of all of Hope's childhood pictures where she's wearing a hat in every single one of them. She'd be outside swimming in a pool with like a big sun hat on, just looking
I bet
silly.
she's very thankful at this age that you took that very seriously at the time.
Yeah. When she was like 10, it was like, oh yeah, you can't really see it anymore. At 17, like I haven't even thought about it in years. Like you can't see it.
When I was 5, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
When I was 4 and my sister was 3, I whacked her in the head with a fucking gardening hoe, and
as you do.
And they got a plastic surgeon and fixed that all up.
I did something like that too, except it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't malicious. To my younger brother, we were at a friend's house having a pillow fight, very, 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 very close to, I would say too close to the fireplace. And
I see where this is headed.
I smacked, and I got like a collateral damage style hit. I was large for my age. I was probably like 8, and I hit my friend and my younger brother.
Bearded.
And my younger brother just like turned in direction and slammed his head right on the corner of the fireplace, and it was at a friend's house. And so of course, anytime a kid's hurt at a friend's house, that parent's like, oh my god, we're gonna get in trouble and everything. They're freaking out, like calling my parents and everything. And I remember having to go to the hospital and sit in the room while they stapled his head. And the way you guys describe it, it sounds like you got a lot of those. So I think this was not as bad. It was only like maybe 6 staples. I don't know what a lot is, but I had to sit there in the room while they were like, oh, settle down, no, be quiet, to my younger brother. And they just, which I obviously they get rid of most of the pain, but as a child, having staples put into your head with a bunch of adults looking at you with fear in their eyes, kind of frightening. In a way.
Dude, we were like, you mentioned the friend's house. We were like 26 or 27 or something. We had these little kids. Hope was our little kid, but we had a friend group who had kids Hope's age. And every so often we'd drop the kids off at like one parent, and everyone would get a night out, without kids. So it's our turn to watch everybody's kids. And couple number 1 comes by, drops off their boy, everything is cool. Couple number 2 comes by, and we're all friends, right? It's like a friend group. They pick up couple number 1's kid, and they throw him in the air like a dad would do, but the ceiling fan is on. And like it just cracks the kid in the head. And we're all like trying, like, how fucked up is this kid now? Like this is a baby.
Bad.
And we're like, do we take him to the hospital or pretend it never happened? Those are
Pretend
the choices.
it never happened.
That's what we went with. Yeah.
Pretend they're like, this guy.
When I was
okay. Go on.
When I was like 15, maybe 16 or 17, somewhere in there, I stood up out of my bed, like I'm gonna get out of bed and I'm like go somewhere, but like for whatever reason, like my bed was always pushed back into a corner or something. I popped up out of bed, stood in the bed, and sort of like was gonna like take 2 steps, hop on the floor, and then sprint through the living room and out of the house or whatever. I stood up into the ceiling fan, which was turned on though, and that blade hit me flush in the side of the head and hit me in the top of the ear. Like it caught my ear like right in the top quarter of my ear. It dropped me to my bed with so much pain. I can still feel that pain right there in that ear. And I remember laying there holding my whole head and going and thinking to myself, I couldn't feel it very well or tell what I was touching because my whole ear was red hot and numb from the pain. But I remember thinking, like, I have a cauliflower ear now for sure, and I haven't fucking ever stepped foot on a goddamn wrestling mat. I'm gonna have one of those ugly fucking cauliflower ears, and I wouldn't even know what I was fucking doing in wrestling. Like I'm gonna look like the guy, and I'm gonna have none of the skills that come along with looking like that. And I was just laying there in my vanity and pain, and just rocking back and forth until it stopped.
That makes me think of. Like those ear injuries can be bad. One of my friends to another one of my friends gave him when we were like 11 or 12, like a complex about his ears. So my buddy, we were all in the pool hanging out for a day, and the rabble rouser among us, like one of us is like, I was obviously big for my age as I was. The other guy was like, normal size guy, and the third guy, our friend, was very, very small at his age. Like he teeny tiny, did like looked like he was an 8-year-old almost, but he was our age, like 11 or 12. And we were all in the pool, and the guy to the really small guy snuck up behind him while he was like shooting baskets, and with both of his hands like open, gave him like a real ear boxing, like whap. And that is like I've never had it done to me, thank God, but it's like apparently one of the most disorienting, like makes you feel sick because your equilibrium's off. Like it's just horribly painful and awful, especially
an eardrum.
Yeah, I don't remember if he said you ruptured my eardrum or if that was like him playing it up in later years as we retold the story. But from this day, every once in a while, when we're all hanging out, we're all 25, 26 years old now. We will still make little gestures to like touch his ears, and he will like get
brother. There's something about Mary.
It's not like a hey, watch it, you guys. Like I remember the joke. It's like a don't you fucking touch me. Don't fucking touch my ears. It's funny to watch, but it's just funny. Yeah, it's just funny.
That's fucked, man. I bet that would hurt so goddamn much to get boxed in your ears like that.
You just think I'm gonna give him a goof and but
on that friend topic where you guys are saying like your friends are getting hurt and stuff. Well, I had a friend when I was like 9 years old. He went to my house every single day. He was like my best friend, and we were just playing around once in my backyard, and I took up like one of those big snow shovels, like those ones that are like metal, and I just picked it up, and I don't know, we were just joking around, just goofing around, and he ran into it, right? So he hits his like lip pretty badly, and then he hit his gums really badly, and his gums like were bleeding everywhere. Like it looked like he was gonna like bleed out or something. It was the most disgusting thing ever. And I've never had a friend's dad get so angry with me. Like, because his dad came over and I was trying to explain to him, like, it was not my fault. Like your son ran into the shovel. And obviously afterwards, he tried to tell all my friends, he's like, oh no, he hit me with the shovel. And we had this big debate for like the rest of high school where he always used to tell my friends that I hit him with a shovel when I was younger, but I know that I just picked up the shovel. He ran into it, and his dad got so angry with me, he literally yelled at me, like even worse than like my dad used to yell at me. And my dad was really fucking harsh with that stuff, and he yelled at me so badly. Like I never felt so horrible for doing something to someone, but. He eventually recovered. It took him a couple years, though. He had a pretty fucked up mouth. He actually fucked up his teeth, I think, for the rest of his life. So I feel really bad for that. I kind of stayed away from him afterwards. Like, we were best friends.
Maybe someday you'll have the means to go back and pay for his teeth or something like that.
I mean, it wasn't my fault, though. I just picked up the shovel. He ran into it. I know what happened, okay? He's trying to make me think I hit him with the shovel, but I didn't. But I feel like I actually did fuck up his teeth for the rest of his life. And I kind of feel bad for that, but...
Yeah, I kicked the kid's tooth out in like I don't know what grade we were in. I came down the slide. This dummy was trying to go up a slide, like crawling up the slide, and I'll be honest, 6 or 7 year old me didn't have to kick him in the mouth, but there was this little flash in me that was like, I'm going the right way. I have the right of way. All right, so like, you have fucked up, sir. And so I just gave him the double like Power Ranger thing right in the face because he was in my goddamn way, and I wasn't gonna smush into him, and he never got that tooth fixed, and it was a permanent. Like
permanent.
I saw him years later, and he still had that tooth gone. Like it was still, and it was like this one.
Poor Jeremy.
I had a thing.
I said I kicked a tooth out, not I got him on the ground and stomped his mouth. like they did the mashed potato on his fucking orthodontia.
Did he get his feet?
I had a thing with like teeth, like when I was losing them. That like when I discovered it was a thing that like, oh, you're losing your baby teeth, and I saw all my friends like losing their teeth faster than me. Because I was like a few months younger in the grade, and that matters at that age, like the months when you're losing them almost. And I was always thinking, like, if I lose more teeth, it'll mean that I'm growing faster. And so I would take teeth. Like, there were always the kids in class who'd be like, see this tooth? And it'd be like hanging by a fucking thread, and they just would refuse to tear it out. Yeah, like, you just easily pull it out. I was the opposite, where I'd be like, oh, that's a little bit of movement. That's a little bit of movement. I basically forced and tore out all 4 of my front teeth here at like age, I don't know, 7 or 8, because I was like wiggling them so hard. And so many of my pictures as a young kid, they'd be like, there's Taylor when he's young, doesn't have any teeth in the front. There's Taylor a year later, still no teeth in the front. Those probably wait about a year or so. Here's Taylor a year and a half later. You can start to see that peak coming down from the front. Like, it was very, very
real soup connoisseur in your younger years.
No, just a lot of side mouth chewing, you know.
That's hilarious.
That's yeah, we used to find fun, like creative ways to like get them jerked out. You know, string around the tooth, and then let's tie it to something. And we did a bottle rocket once. We did cars.
A street hockey, and then you shoot your own tooth out. That's the way to do it.
It's like a lot of fun. Yeah, anything like that. You know, so slamming the door, of course.
Bottle rocket.
Yeah, we did a model. Yeah, we did a bottle rocket, like a big one. Yeah, and we did definitely did the car one time.
Dude, one of the first nights I moved in, when I first moved out of my parents' house, I moved into a house, the first house I bought, and I got like really nice bread and some really nice cheese, and I was gonna make a grilled cheese sandwich.
Nice,
like an adult one with some tomato soup, like garden vegetable soup. I was gonna make it all myself. Was cutting the bread, first ingredient, and I just fucking cut the front of my finger completely off, basically. And it was so. I have like big calluses on my fingers because I play the guitar a lot. So like, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit.
Oh, goodness.
And like you can see how it's white there. That was all just like hanging off.
Oh, you hate that.
And it was. I was wondering if like I thought it was gonna die or whatever, but I just wrapped it up really good, and it just like the very top kind of peeled off eventually, but most of it, probably 80 or 70% of it, just healed back together. And I never went to the hospital or anything because I'm a fucking idiot and I never go to the hospital. But
that's hardcore.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I used to open it a lot while I would do like I would play like some song or some shit with a hammer on, and then I would fucking get a string stuck inside of it and open it back up and be like, oh fuck, just because I can feel my skin ripping.
I guess 3 days wasn't enough time off.
Yeah, dude, that's so stupid. Very dumb.
During COVID, I was getting ready to go to the gym at like 2:30 in the morning, like really late. And I remember I was getting my mixer or something to mix up some pre-workout, and I knocked a big kitchen knife off the counter, and it went right between my toes and like straight down in. And I thought it had gone through my foot because when I lifted my foot up, like to look at it, so much blood had already ran out that it had ran over the sides and underneath my foot. So now the bottom of my foot was dripping the blood that was sort of coalescing there. And I thought, and it's a big, very nice chef's knife, I thought it had just fallen all the way through my damn foot. And so I like wrapped that thing up and drove myself to a hospital.
I remember the pictures you sent us of this.
I'm in the parking lot of this hospital, ER, and my foot's wrapped in a towel, and I had to tell like another patient who was at. He was like, "Hey, can you tell them I'm out here and I'm basically crippled?" I was like, I dropped the knife and it went through my foot. I was like, I can't walk in there. I've got a towel wrapped around the wound, and they sent a nurse with a bodyguard and a wheelchair out to get me.
A bodyguard, just in case this was a ruse.
Yeah, we talked
That's
about that.
funny.
I was like, it's smart bringing him. She's like, yeah, we don't go out here alone.
Yeah,
And I was like, well, I'm like, well, I'm real. This is real blood.
You look out the window and you're like, never even mind. And you just drive away.
The little towel falls off your foot. You're just like, fuck
You
it.
called my bluff, ma'am.
Ooh.
A friend of mine, when we were like 10 or so, I don't remember what show inspired this, but he was really into the idea of wielding a quarterstaff, like a Ninja Turtle.
Turtles.
Like it may have been that, but it could have been Ninja Turtles. And so there's like an old broomstick he had at his house, but for some reason it had like, those big industrial almost staples that'll sometimes be in wooden. Yeah. And he was trying to get that out because he didn't want metal. He just wanted like the long quarterstaff looking thing. And so he took the fork from a grill that you'd use to like flip a giant steak. And he was pushing on it, trying to pull that thing out, and it slipped, and he stabbed both of the tangs of it clear through his hand and had to go to the hospital. Thankfully, like easily could have had like a fucking bad hand, like the Scary Movie 2 guy.
Yeah.
But like he barely missed all the important stuff apparently. So now he can still.
Just give me your other hand. No, it's not strong enough. Take my little hand.
Take my little hand, and it is the grossest little hand.
That
little
movie holds
potato
up.
hand.
There's only like
I
one
love that
scene in
movie.
that's still dated. They like parodied a Nike commercial from back then, and it's like, am I supposed to remember this Nike commercial from 2000?
Yeah, 2000, 25 years ago.
Look at this, Zach. Can you show him the second article of this kid that got hurt BMXing?
That happens all the time. Why write an article about
Well,
it?
not like this. Not like this. This guy, they had a little bit of a collision, and another racer's like brake lever went up this kid's ass and broke off.
No.
Up his asshole and broke off. Here he is. He's like on the phone with his boys, like bragging about like what has happened. He's like, no, up my asshole, dude. My asshole.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Poor guy. What a traumatizing end to your fun day.
Hopefully he doesn't have a perforated colon or something like that.
Well, he had a colostomy. So, yeah,
that's not good.
Had to reroute things for a while, I guess, until that heals up. Can't be pooping on the hole. That ran ragged.
It got rerouted to the original route.
I think
hate
you
that.
it right out the side of your stomach with a little pod, like you're one of those test cows at the university.
Yep.
I love that.
One of those
That's
test
one of
cows at the university.
It's a little dark that we do that to cows. They don't seem to mind, though. Whatever.
Yeah, dude, ruminants are chill. Ruminants are chill creatures. They're pretty chill with it.
A ruminant? Like
four stomachs.
Cows.
Yeah.
Goats.
I was trying to think of a ruminant that is ornery.
It's another. Yeah, true. Well, any male version, a bull or a male goat, they're assholes. They're dickweeds. I used to fist fight goats when I was a kid.
Did you win?
No, I was just a little child. They whooped my ass, dude.
No, I was very small.
0-4 at the petting zoo.
Yeah, well, my parents had goats and stuff, and it would feel like I would have to walk this field every single day to be able to get from my house to my grandparents' house so they could watch me because my parents worked. And there were goats in the field, and they fucking attacked me every single day. And they were really mean. But at a certain point, it was like a game for me where I would physically fight back against these demons that they didn't care. They were just like fucking with me. Yeah. And I was like maybe 5 to 7. So before I probably weighed 45, 55 pounds, somewhere in there. So I was like a little tiny guy, whatever the average weight is. Maybe that's low. I don't know, whatever. But I like fully remember fist fighting goats and like actually trying to like get them off of me and like hitting them and then feeling like my hits didn't do anything. and they just didn't care. So
Damn.
Yeah.
Goat is a formidable foe. My grandparents on their farm had a hog that lived in a coop or a pen, I guess, adjacent to the chickens. And every time I'd go in there, this fucking hog would chase me. And I'm like 5 years old, 6 years old.
Dude.
And so it was like way closer to eye height than like it is for adult me. And so I was terrified of this hog. Looking back, my grandpa was like, Taylor, get in there with that hog. No, he's not going to chase you. Get in there. And then I get in there and I'm like, running from this hog, and I hated the hog. And then eventually I came down and they had butchered it and killed it and told me I was eating that hog, and I got a sense of victory, a sense of winning.
You were excited. You were validated.
I was excited. Yeah, they killed the hog that chased and bullied me, and we ate it. And they also killed the rooster that would chase and bully my younger brother, and we ate him as well.
Damn.
That's what you fucking get.
Yeah, you
Country
fuckers.
justice.
Yeah, that's country justice.
I used to raise a bunch of animals for 4-H, and my sister is very emotional and very like I guess a normal girl, a normal young girl. And she had all these animals, and she took care of them and stuff, and then named them, and then she bonded with them, and then they would get slaughtered. And my dad, who is just like a old country boy, I would help him slaughter them. And the lambs, the lamb is delicious. Like, I love lamb. Lamb is amazing. It's very, very, very good. And he would always make like pastas and things like that, and bolognese, all this really good food. And he's such a great cook. And my sister, she never really asked about any of that stuff, but we would eat the animals that we raised. And my sister was like, "This is so good." One night, "This is so good." And my dad was like, "Yeah, that's Edgar." And that was her lamb.
Oh, God,
and that was, she was recently slaughtered. And she like obviously lost her mind, was like just stricken with grief. My parents say that she ended up finishing the meal. Like she didn't like, she kind of got over it, but I don't believe that. I think that I don't remember it like that.
Do you think your father knew what he was doing, or did he just not expect somebody to be attached to a lamb?
I think that he sort of playfully knew what he was doing, but I definitely don't think he expected the reaction that he was given, for sure.
He playfully knew. That's Caleb.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. My dad's a little bit of a bastard, for sure. Yeah. He's a trickster.
Woody's the only person who ever killed and ate one of my pets.
Really?
Yeah. Henrietta.
Yeah, he bludgeoned it.
Eventually,
out there in the forest. Eventually, yeah.
R.I.P. More of like a Hostel 2 kind of way to kill a chicken.
That chicken did 9/11. Like it was a fucking war criminal or something.
He had that chicken sitting on a seatless chair, whipping it on the underside. Like
giving him that James Bond treatment where you hit him with that knotted rope in the balls. It was just
Oh,
Caleb, do you know this background already? Are you familiar with this
I do
story?
not.
We went on this survival trip, and we didn't bring any food. We just brought like some hammocks and some weapons, and the idea was we were going to catch food along the way. But as an ace in the hole, we did bring a live chicken, and the chicken was always intended to be dinner, like, you know, a few days deep into the trip, so that, you know, like if we were struggling, it would be a little pick me up along the way.
It's the thing to do on video.
And it's the thing to do. But unlike Kyle, I've never gone hunting. So this whole like experience of killing your own food and cooking it and eating it was new to me, a thing that I wanted to have lived through. And so Kyle held the chicken down, but when he did it, he put like a limb, you know, a big stick over its neck to protect his own hands from my, inaccurate machete swings.
right.
Because of that, really, well, there was maybe a half inch that was still, it was really a lot of shoulder that I hit. I didn't have the clean shot at the neck that I would have without the log there. And anyway, it took, I don't want to exaggerate, but to remove the head, would you call it 4 blows?
At one point, the chicken went,
That's awesome.
4 blows. You can just pull a chicken's head off. Like,
I was going to say,
not if you hit the stick first.
You gotta hit the neck.
You can literally just pull a chicken's head clean off. Yeah.
I didn't know
Everybody else in the campsite, I just want to interject. We were like, "Hey, that's our friend. She's been keeping the bugs away."
That's
And
true. Yeah, yeah.
it
She's
would
been
do this-
cleaning the campsite of ladybugs
You know how
and
like
whatever.
you know how like a pet will like bed down sort of next to you and like
Yeah.
she did that. She'd like
Oh.
she stayed with us. She didn't wander off and
we
become a
brought a
wild chicken.
cardboard box in that she stayed in so that she
Yeah.
like couldn't get away, but she would just hop out of the cardboard box and be part of the group
Briefly, yeah.
It was a bit of a-
until Thursday.
Yeah, she was the mascot. I don't know. I felt bad. I guess. I guess I still do a little.
Isn't that part of hunting?
No. You usually don't befriend
Yeah,
the deer
where you
before
hold
kill
the
them.
deer down and you repeatedly
Sorry, bitch.
make blow after
I guess.
blow.
See, Kyle's an experienced hunter, but I heard Chris Pratt, as maybe a newer hunter, describe how, when he killed the deer and he was like, that thing was just alive and now it's dead because of me, but I'm eating it and that's the circle of life. But it's something he had to like get used to. And I wanted to live that.
Yeah, I started hunting so young that I was too young to even really grasp fully what was going on. So I was just used to it. I didn't really think of them as fellow creatures that could be like my friend if given the chance or anything, or that, I don't care what they're thinking about or how their breakfast was. It was like,